Sometimes a shadow, dark and cold, lays like a mist across the road. But be encouraged by the sight, where there's a shadow, there's a light. There is a road inside of you, inside of me there is one too. No stumbling pilgrim in the dark, the road to Zion's in your heart, the road to Zion's in your heart. Sometimes it's good to look back down. We've come so far, we've gained such ground. But joy is not in where we've been. Joy is who's waiting at the end. There is a road inside of you, inside of me there is one too. No stumbling pilgrim in the dark, the road to Zion's in your heart. No stumbling pilgrim in the dark, the road to Zion's in your heart, the road to Zion's in your heart, the road to Zion's in your heart.
Sometimes we need something to shake us up, to wake us up, to interrupt our routines, to return us to the road that leads to Zion, to the road that starts in our hearts. We might need to hear a new invocation, or be caught by surprise by someone sitting near us singing, or asking us to sing. It's too easy to become too settled in our ways and not be able to see or even want to see the world or ourselves or our relationships clearly. It's really easy to deceive ourselves. It's even easy to lose our way or to take a wrong turn while we're racing along the road. Easy to find ourselves careening toward danger or even disaster, toward depression or despair or lonely dullness. Some of us, operating on automatic pilot most of our days, give up hope that anything could ever change. That's just the way I am. That's just the way it is. That's the way the world is, we tell ourselves and each other. Sometimes we need something to shake us up, to wake us up, to interrupt the routine, to return us to the road that leads to Zion, back to the road that starts in our hearts. The thing that wakes us up can be something as simple as a song, or a conversation, or a loving touch. In fact, the song we just heard shook up and woke up a dear friend of mine years ago. He was seriously struggling. It was quite a while ago, back in the early 80s, for those of you who remember that. Many of us do. I'm looking out at the faces and the color of the hair in the pews. So back in the early 80s, we remember that. He was seriously struggling because he knew he was gay, but nobody else did. Immersed in the Baptist church and in fundamentalist furor, he was sure he was a sinner, condemned to spend eternity in hell. Tortured, trapped, he was feeling afraid and lonely, like he was all alone, when he heard that song on the radio. His tears were a sign that something new was happening. His heart heard the words of hope. And his mind noticed the absence of any mention of hell or damnation at all. There was no mention of hell in that song. There is a way that leads to life. There is a road inside of you. Inside of me there is one too, no stumbling pilgrim in the dark. And suddenly, listening to the radio, a new way forward felt possible, as if a new road had appeared before him. My friend started coming out a year later, within the year after he heard that song. The song, a Christian song, surprisingly, perhaps, was the invitation he needed to step out of his own private hell, to escape the confusing, painful maze of feelings, thoughts, and fears he had been wandering through for years and years. And today, sharing this song with us, 30 years later, is a spiritual milestone of sorts for him. Another coming out, if you will. Yes, it's our own Rick Fortner who gave me permission to share his story with you this morning. Thank you, Rick. You are a genius, and not just a musical one. Your heart is pure genius. Genius, said William James, the father of American psychology, means little more than the faculty of perceiving in an unhabitual way. So what helps you perceive the world and yourself in non-habitual ways? Because genius is little more than the faculty of perceiving in an unhabitual way. My dad used to tell me the story about the man who stepped outside his front door every morning to wave his blanket around. And when his neighbor asked him why, he said he did it to keep the tigers away. The neighbor politely mentioned that there were no tigers in the neighborhood. And as the man turned his back to go back inside his house, he said, "You see, it's working! You're welcome!" Repetitions, as well as re-pietisms in our own lives, are like our own personal collection of security blankets. Our fears become acts of faith as we use our daily rituals to manage our feelings of failure, of loss, of grief, of guilt, of regret. Because we are creatures of habit, our brains look incessantly for patterns and we react accordingly, as if we were programmed to repeat behaviors, good ones and bad ones. We sit in the same place, shop at the same stores, we listen to the same radio stations, we eat the same sweets and desserts, and we pour that same drink every night at the same time. When our spouses offend or hurt us in the same old way, we react in the same old way, despite having told ourselves we will never do that again. We need interruptions so we can be free. We need interruptions so we can be free thinkers, free feelers, and full participants in this beloved free faith of ours. We need to take in experiences that take us beyond the ordinary and the day-to-day if we want to grow and evolve, if we want to change our habits. We need something, a song, a sunrise, a surprise, or if you're me, a sabbatical, to help us see with new eyes. Sabbatical, from the word Sabbath or Shabbat, or sabbaticus in Latin, or sabbatikos in Greek, literally means to cease, to stop. There's a commandment in the Hebrew Bible to let the fields lie fallow every 7 years, which is very good agricultural advice for you gardeners. And a commandment to the people to rest 1 out of every 7 days, which is very good human, psycho-spiritual advice to all of us. So I ask you this morning, when is the last time you had a true day of rest? When is the last time you just stopped? The idea has spread far beyond the religious world today, with some companies offering unpaid sabbatical for people wanting to take career breaks, and graduating high school seniors taking a gap year before college, work, or the military. We need breaks to see the world and ourselves anew. In April, during my first month of sabbatical, my husband and I traveled through Europe in between my teaching and preaching on the weekends, and there will be a sermon about that in the fall because I learned a lot in Europe. It was fascinating to be with Unitarian Universalists in all these different European countries that we're reading about in the news every day. Together, we spent a day visiting Dachau, which is the first concentration camp built by the Nazi regime. Its use was continuous, so interesting factoid. It was in operation for longer than any other death camp. It's at Dachau that they first tested the Cyclone B gas and first used ovens, smaller ones, which you see, and then larger ones, to dispose of the dead. Dachau is the camp, the model, used as a showpiece for visiting leaders from other nations, as the Nazi regime persuaded other countries that there really was nothing nefarious going on. Near the end of the tour, after viewing the grounds and the memorials and the museum full of photographs and stories and the prisoners' barracks, my husband and I walked through the room where prisoners stripped off their clothes. We walked around the room where they took their poison gas showers. We stood in the room where they piled the bodies. And finally, we walked through the room of ovens where people's bodies were burned. When I emerged back out into the sunshine, to the sound of birds singing and water running in the little brook that would have been there 70 years ago, Rick was already there waiting for me. And later, talking with friends, he described how he had felt in the shower room. I had a terrible feeling, he started. There was a darkness in the room, a heaviness, a weight, a power, a pressure. He was looking for the right words. I couldn't stay in there. I don't understand how other people just walked around taking pictures. It was awful, he said. Now, Rick, my husband, is a radical atheist. He is skeptical at best about spiritual experiences. He does not talk about energy, not normally. But taken out of his day-to-day life, dropped into another place in time, he felt something he couldn't deny. It's not just joy, but sometimes suffering that touches us, that turns us around or inside out and sets us off walking along a new road that trickles right out from our hearts, like that stream at Dachau. But first, we have to allow ourselves to feel. And to feel, first, we have to pause. Just this pause and deepening of attention will start to open you to more freedom. You might, if you stay, find some real healing, some compassion, and a flow of aliveness. Or you might move into the patterned or repetitive behavior but with more awareness than before. Either way, the pause puts you on the path of healing unmet needs and discovering the source of your deepest longings. Those are the words of William Moyers, who for 12 years has been free of crack and alcohol. Will Moyers, the son of Bill Moyers. Words he delivered at a talk at MIT in Boston. The portal to our potential is in the pause. If I want to stay free, now that I'm back from sabbatical, if you want to be free from whatever it is, we are going to have to learn how to slow down, how to pause more often, and how sometimes to even stop. Listen to the rain. Natalie Goldberg's teacher said at the beginning of class when she was in the 9th grade. Then the teacher flipped off the lights. Oh, I wish we could flip off the lights. There wasn't going to be an essay to write or a test about the rain. Her English teacher simply wanted her students to listen. They could even close their eyes or put their heads down on the desk, she said. And so Natalie just listened for a full 6 minutes. She listened to the rain hitting the pavement and bouncing off of it, to the rain sinking into the grass, and to the rain pounding on the windows. She wrote about how she was changed by the experience. It was an acknowledgement that an element unknowable and mysterious could be encountered with our senses without referring it to our thinking brains. For a few minutes in the regulated school day, we experienced a moment of space. Though I did not pick up a pen and attempt to write a word until I was 24 years old, the true heart of a writer was born in me that day. From then on, dreaming became legitimate. That one afternoon, a Wednesday, liberated me. The downpour was mine. All in 6 minutes. Between the stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power and our freedom. Wrote Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, a neurologist and psychiatrist from Austria. So I am exceedingly grateful to you this morning for the gift you gave me of sabbatical time. I can say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I will continue to say thank you for some time to come because truly everything is different and everything is the same. What I know is I can't go back to the way it was before, and none of us can, truly. Maybe every Sunday for you is a Sabbath, a time to slow down after a busy week, a time to pay attention to the spaces in between. Because in between my words, in between Rick's notes and the singers' voices, in between your thoughts, as you sit here in these pews, in between, you are waiting for something to awaken in you, a new understanding. Here you sit hoping for something to release in you, a letting go. Here we hope something will settle in us, a deep knowing. It's in the pause we discover a deeper trust in what is and who we are. So I look forward to sharing so many stories from my 3 months away. I look forward this fall. I see some of my fellow pilgrims in the pews. I look forward to sharing a lot more about our walk along the Camino de Santiago in Spain, which I can only do with the help of my fellow pilgrims and some of Anitra's amazing photographs. But I want to give you just a sneak preview, a short story in closing. from that part of my sabbatical. Chris came on the trip because she was in that deep and difficult transition after a significant death. After losing her husband of more than 30 years, she was struggling to see her own life further down the road. She set out on Camino with a question: how would her life continue now without her beloved? On about day 3 or 4, Chris's toe, one of her toes, started to really bother her. I'm not going to tell you about my toes this morning. We were walking at least on average 10 miles a day, and she was walking alone on the day when she realized she really couldn't make it. She wasn't going to be able to walk all the way, not that day. So she stopped in a little cafe to ask for help calling a taxi so that the taxi could drive her to the next town where we were all gather at the end of the day and prepare for the next. So more in sign language, because Chris doesn't speak a lot of Spanish, she tried to communicate her needs to the owner of the cafe, and the store owner watched and listened to her for a while, and then indicated that instead of calling a taxi, she would close up shop and drive Chris herself to her destination that day, which is exactly what she did. When we stop, or when life stops us, then we can discover what is really real. Each in our own way on the Camino, all of us pilgrims rediscovered a fundamental trust in ourselves and in the road that lies before us and in the other pilgrims around us. But we had to set out walking in a foreign land to feel that. So how will you interrupt your routines, your repetitions, your repietisms this summer, your patterns, and let in something new? There is a road inside of you. The river runs beside the road, its waters living as they flow. In liquid voice, the water calls. On thirsty knees, the pilgrim falls. There is a road inside of each and every one of us that leads to more life, to more joy, to more love, and to more freedom. After 3 months of sabbatical, I know it's true for me and for you. So how can we keep from hoping? And how can we keep from singing? Amen. It is so good to be back. Thank you. You're visiting with us online today. We love connecting with people all across the country and around the world, sharing our powerful message of love beyond belief.
There's something new happening here. You can now join All Souls as a virtual member. Our virtual membership is designed for friends who live outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and who want to engage with All Souls in a meaningful way.
You can be part of an expanding family, a global family really, wherever you are. If you live in Oklahoma,
Ohio,
or Orange County, California,
Canada,
or Cameroon. By becoming a virtual member, you'll be able to deepen your connections with members and friends here in Tulsa and with members wherever you are.
Each week, you'll receive special All Souls content tailored for you, our virtual members. Virtual members have access to pastoral care, to personal prayers, and also receive invitations to exclusive web events.
You can learn more, and if you're ready, you can become a virtual member today by visiting allsoulschurch.org/virtual membership.
We're grateful our ministries are having a positive impact on your life, and we want to share the good news of love beyond belief with more and more people. So no matter what, we need your support to keep this ministry growing and thriving, so please consider making a gift today. You can do so by texting
LOVEBB for Love Beyond Belief to 73256 or simply visit our website. You are a blessing in our lives. May you be blessed.
and be a blessing.